Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of SBC Podcast. Today we have with us Kim Busse of the Omnia Group, and I believe you are the key relationship manager
I am.
with the Omnia. Today we will cover some behavioral assessments and then maybe different types of assessments depending on time we have left or available. Kim, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rashid. I'm very happy to be here today.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So, Kim, tell us a little bit about Omnia and why Omnia for you. Why did you end up at Omnia?
Absolutely. So, the
Mm.
Omnia Group is a consulting company and we specialize in behavioral assessments. And for myself, I have 25 years of business development and people management. And about 6 years ago, I got a call to say, we're creating a new position as relationship manager. We want you to come on board. And I asked, what's it about? And they go, we don't know yet. We want you to create the position, but, have
Dream
fun with
job
it.
sounds like.
Loved it. I love being able to partner with our clients about training and selection and employee engagement. So it's a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. For a lot of people who may not be familiar with assessments, can you give them an idea? Because, I mean, obviously you hear psychological, behavioral, all these different types of assessments. Can you give them an overview of what assessments are about?
Oh, absolutely. So, behavioral assessments are much different than a psychological test.
Mm.
Some of the common misconceptions is it's pass or fail or it's measuring a person's mental health, and that is not the case. Well, for behavioral assessments that are used within the job place, it looks at those behaviors such as level of assertiveness, communication style, their need for details, and allows you to match those undercurrents, those behaviors to make sure that you hire the right person for the right position
Mhm.
and that
Mhm.
they're going to be successful in their role.
Right. Are those compliant with the FCRA or what's the other one that trips people a lot?
There's
It's the
ADA and,
EOC,
And
Employment
EEOC,
Opportunity
yes.
Commission. Yeah.
So that's one of the things that you have to make sure
Mm.
that the assessment that you're using is compliant. For Omnia, we are independently validated and
Mm.
compliant. The other option that you have to look at is if the assessment itself is compliant with ADA and EEOC, that you administer it consistently because that's what really trips people
Right.
up is
True.
they pick and choose which
True.
candidate
Yes.
to give the assessment
Yeah. You
to.
can cherry pick. Yeah. That's one sure way to get into trouble. Right.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
you've got to make sure that you're using it consistently within
Mm-hmm.
the hiring
Mm-hmm.
process, either before the phone interview or after the phone interview. And then also making sure that the assessment has been validated, that it's in compliance and free of all of the biases.
Mm-hmm. And is yours like just one that's typically comes in before you hire people, or is it used as well for like team building and other things, or can you place it like in the? Because I mean, we hear about you got your discs, you got your Myers Briggs, and all of these different things. It can be confusing.
It can be very
Mm.
confusing. So, with Omnia, we are originally created to use for that selection process because we let you know, can your salespeople sell or does
Right.
your service people have that attention to detail? But if you're only using the behavioral assessment for the selection process, you're returning your return on investment by about 50%
Mm.
because it's going to give you information about onboarding, how they communicate, how to train them in the classroom or on the job. It's going to give you insight into, there's always that honeymoon stage when you
Mm-hmm.
have a new employee
Right.
where you're trying to figure out their motivators and demotivators. And a strong behavioral assessment can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it can give you insight onto why Bob and Sue aren't getting along
Mm-hmm.
and give you and help you understand that. Assessments can also be used for mergers and acquisitions. You're bringing together
Mm-hmm.
two teams.
Mm.
How do you take two people that may be in the same position,
Right.
select the best candidate that's going to make your team the strongest as possible? So, using an assessment for
Mm.
selection is only the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. That's an interesting one. I never thought about M&A, like how would that come? Because one of the biggest issues with like anytime people get into a situation of a merger and acquisition is the clash of cultures. And so from what you're telling me, like a behavioral assessment can help you minimize that.
Absolutely. Having gone through a merger myself at a previous employer,
Mm.
if you're the acquiring company, then you have a sometimes a sense of entitlement. We work here, so we should automatically have the job. For the company that's being acquired, sometimes they feel like the forgotten child who,
Right.
oh no, we're being brought in. So with using an assessment, it's an unbiased third party that usually never meets the candidates. That's really only talking to you about their strengths and challenges to that position and how they're going to complement the team. So it levels the playing field, so to speak.
So, Kim, can you walk us like typically about the timelines and then what's entailed and what's involved in like kind of incorporating for someone who's never actually thought about assessments or incorporating them into their hiring process? Can you give us a little bit of an overview of what that would entail?
Yes, absolutely. So once again, it is dependent on the assessment that you select. The first thing that I say is make sure that you're using one that is job specific, that measures your candidate's natural behavioral traits to the position that you're hiring for. There are many assessments out there that will give you a general overview, but don't have that experience to say, yes, they can sell, no, they can't. This is what they're going to struggle with. The second thing is look at your time frame. So for some, such as Omnia, where online it takes 10 to 15 minutes to complete. For others, they can take 30 minutes, 45 minutes, up to an hour and a half. So you want to look at what your time frame is. We recommend is that you scrub the resume. You conduct that first phone interview because that's going to eliminate some people based on salary or hours or whatever. And then have
all
them,
the obvious,
all the obvious things,
checkpoints.
yes. And then have them complete the assessment. It's going to give you some additional questions to ask. It's going to give you some viewpoints because let's face it, if you Google how to interview well in less than a minute, you're going to get over 1 billion hits. So you need something that's going to help you as an employer to say, okay, I know you say you can sell, but can you really sell? Or I know you say you have attention to detail, but what does that mean in comparison to our job?
Yeah, so you can tailor it to that particular employer and that particular job because, I mean, selling services is not the same thing as selling trinkets. So consultative selling and relationship selling, a whole different thing. So my understanding is if I understood you right, is that like with your own assessments, you're able to tailor it to the particular type of position. Is that correct?
Absolutely. We can not only tailor it to the position, we can base it on top performers within that company. Or we have clients who prefer to use our database of 30 plus years of experience and top performers in that industry. So it can be very customized.
So someone could just come to you and say, okay, this is what I'm looking to hire. And then you go into your own experience, memory, and database, and then you try and find what's the perfect, the ideal candidate for them. Is that what you're...
Yes.
I like that.
Yes, absolutely. So we make it very turnkey or very customized because they could say, man, I wish we could clone Kim and her behaviors. And they can take our assessment and we can build the ideal graph off of their top performers.
Yeah, awesome. So Kim, what are some of the other tips that people can do to make the most out of like assessments, like behavioral assessment, and maybe best incorporate them into the whole toolbox when it comes to hiring? Because as you know, entrepreneurs and human resource people could use all the help they can get when it comes to that.
Absolutely. I think the first thing is to remember that an assessment is about 25% of the process. It's meant to partner with that interview. So it doesn't take the place of the in-person interview. You know, when you're looking at an employee or prospect, you're able to hear how they communicate, how they're dressed. Did they show up on time? Kind of that cultural fit. But using the assessment as a partnership, it allows you to dive a little bit deeper. The other thing is they can use it for advancement. So I have someone on my team that I think is going to be a great leader. Well, most managers fail within the first 24 months of promotion because they have no training.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Using a behavioral assessment, they're able to pinpoint, okay, where are the areas that we need to work with them? Do they avoid conflict? Now I can start teaching them and training them and developing them in these areas of opportunity before promotion. And then once again, you know, those team dynamics, understanding truly why is that employee engaged? Why are my employees leaving? Or why are they staying? And how do we use the assessment to create a better culture?
Yeah, awesome. So if someone's got a high turnover, you're also able to kind of help them kind of diagnose the issue?
Absolutely. So that's one of our services through the employee engagement process is to say, why are how do your employees feel about this position, or conduct exit interviews. Could be that you have the right person in the wrong seat, and we're able to help you out with that, or you may need to adjust what you're hiring for because everyone's company is just a little bit different.
Right, right. Well, Kim, what are some mistakes that you see people make? I know you mentioned one of them earlier, but can you think of any other mistakes or maybe pitfalls that maybe people should avoid when it comes to behavioral assessment? Like I know, for instance, with some of them, because we mentioned a few, and then with some of them, people just think that they can just do the assessment and that's it. Then it's going to tell you a yay or nay, or they end up just typecasting people. Any things you can think of that maybe?
Yes, absolutely. You hit on quite a few. One, it's not pass or fail.
Mm.
So even though you receive a compatibility rating, you still need to interview because what assessments don't take into account is work experience. If someone has 25 years of work experience and they have a low compatibility and you call me and we talk through it, I'm going to say, don't forget these factors.
Right.
Let's look at their references. Let's look at their experience. Let's ask some of those questions to make sure that you're looking at the whole picture versus just the assessment. The other thing is that a lot of times people will go the other option. So it's either a pass or fail. We love the assessment, or this is nice, but it doesn't give you a lot of information, or I don't really believe it because I've been hiring and I need a body and I'm just going to go with my gut.
Right.
One of my favorite compliments from my client is every time I go with my gut, it's wrong. I should just listen to you. Because we have that human factor and we like people so much, so we
Right.
don't want to look at it.
Yeah.
The other thing is inconsistent application. You have to be consistent when you apply it to your candidates just to make sure you remain within compliance.
Right, right. And then also like, what is the learning curve, for it? Because I mean, as you know, we both know is that any tool in the wrong hands is just useless. So, can you speak a little bit about that? Like, how do you help people navigate that side of it?
Yes, absolutely. So you want to make sure that whatever assessment that you select has some sort of customer service or training program. For instance, for us at Omnia, we have a complete training program and you have dedicated client advisors that we will talk through every single report with you if that's what you want. We have quick reference guides. You want to make sure that there's someone that will train you on the report so that you understand, not as an HR professional, you may understand it, but also to take it to the next level to help your managers understand
Right.
it
Yeah.
and understand the value of it's not just a check mark on the HR list.
Right.
It is something that, okay, we've hired them. Now let's talk about who are you pairing them up with as a training buddy or a mentor. Why are we doing that? Because they're very similar in their communication style. Are they going to give them the attention to detail that they need when they ask 50 questions? When I get impatient after one question.
Right. Yeah. So maximize the benefit. They take it all the way because I mean, obviously, like it doesn't stop. I totally agree. It doesn't stop me when it comes to hiring people altogether. Even if they're a great candidate, if the onboarding is not done correctly, the training and supplying them with the right tools, eventually, it's
They
gonna.
will. And a statistic that's surprising to me is that most new hires decide whether or not they're going to stay with a company within the first 6 months.
Yeah.
And if you think about the high cost of turnover, that can be
Right.
1.5 times their salary, then you want to make sure that whoever you hire is planning on staying past that 6 months. And using an assessment gives you a great tool to ensure that you're setting all of the conditions for success.
Yeah, awesome. So, Kim, is there anything else you would like to share with our audience, including like ultimately like how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, once again, with behavioral assessments, I would definitely recommend using them if you don't. If you have additional questions, as I said, we're a consulting company. So, I work with our clients to create training programs, exit interviews, engagement. Please give me a call. The telephone number is 813-280-3024, or you can email me at kbusse, Busse, at omniagroup.com. I'd love to talk to you about your concerns and questions about assessments.
Yeah, well, awesome, and we'll put that on the show notes just for those of you who may not have a chance to write it down. Other than that, Kim, it has been a pleasure to have you on the show, and this concludes our episode for this week. and be on the lookout for next week's episode. And feel free to listen to any previous episodes on iTunes, or you can find the link on our blog at sbchecks.com and the resources. Thanks very much.
Thank you.